How you doing, big fella?
How are you?
You good? Come in. Welcome. Good to see you here.
Joining me on this episode of The Player Position is Burnley defender Luke McNally. Coming off the back of a strong loan spell at Stoke City, Luke is back at Burnley and gives some amazing insights into his career so far. Having come through the ranks at local side Enfield Celtic, he went on to play for both Drogheda United and St Patrick's Athletic at youth level, signing a pro contract with the latter in 2019. After 2 seasons in the League of Ireland, Luke was signed by League One side Oxford United, and after some excellent performances, he received a call by then Burnley manager Vincent Kompany and signed for the club in June 2022. In January 2023, Luke joined Coventry City on loan in the Championship. He made 22 appearances in all competitions for the club, and with Victor Gyokeres spearheading the team's attack, they reached the 2023 EFL Championship playoff final at Wembley Stadium. Luke discusses all this and more in today's episode. This is not one to be missed.
Luke, thanks so much for joining me. How are you keeping?
Yeah, good, Adam. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers. Appreciate it. So I know obviously the season's only just ended. Have you been enjoying your time off, back at home and everything?
Yeah, it's nice to be back home. I'm just down in Enfield in Meath, so yeah, it's just nice to be home, see the family, and yeah, just get away from it probably for a couple of weeks before you're getting yourself back in the gym and running, and it all starts again. So it's nice to have those first few weeks where you can just sort of relax and get yourself kind of mentally ready as well as physically,
And obviously during the season, like you're away from home, like do you find that hard, like being away from family and friends when you're over there, or are they coming over to visit you often, or how does it work?
Yeah, my dad comes over a good bit. He comes over to most games, and then whatever chance I get home. But yeah, it's it's probably something you just get used to over time. Like the first year at Oxford, and from then on was difficult. But then after a while, it kind of becomes the norm, and you make good friends over there, and you kind of have 2 separate lives. When you come back, you fit back into to your Irish mates, and then when you're over there, you're kind of surrounded by them the whole time. So it works well, and I enjoy it really. Yeah.
So obviously the season just gone with Stoke, 38 appearances in the Championship, like you played pretty much every game. How do you reflect on the season that you had personally and the team?
Yeah, probably as a team, we should have done a lot better. We got into a bit of trouble probably around March time, where we were kind of slipped into the bottom 3, and then to be fair to the lads, we all kind of pulled in and got the results we needed to get out of the situation. But yeah, I think our squad was strong that season, that we probably shouldn't have been in there. But thankfully, we stayed up anyway in the end, and we finished quite strong. We actually looked like a good team in the last couple of games. It was kind of frustrating because we were kind of going, oh, I wish this came a bit earlier, because we won 3 games on the bounce at the end and we looked good. But no, it was good. It was a good experience. Being down there was good mentally, sort of to be tested and not have it easy, not have it all your own way, and sort of have to show a bit of character. And from that aspect, I learned a lot, to be fair.
And obviously that's your second season playing in the Championship after being with Burnley and Coventry in the first season. How do you find the league overall, and how do you feel like you've adapted to the league since joining from Oxford?
Yeah, quite good. I think it's a different league probably this season to the one I played with Coventry and with Burnley and stuff. Like when Leicester, Leeds, and Southampton came down, you could see like the quality difference was like it's like a mini Premier League, probably them top 6 teams, I think. So yeah, them standard of games are really difficult, and but they're good tests. Good going away to King Power and St Mary's and playing Leeds, and like they're good tests for me. So from that aspect, I enjoyed it a lot. But yeah, it's a strong league. It's what it is. It's physical, and anyone can beat anyone in it, really.
And it seemed like you really enjoyed your year at Stoke. Like, what do you feel like when you look back at your time there? Like, did you really enjoy the time being at the club with the manager and the fans and the players?
Yeah, I think like at Stoke towards the end, we kind of could see that like we was moving in the right direction. And to be fair, I expect Stoke to have a decent year next year, based off sort of how good the manager was, and how the players were starting to adapt to what he wanted. And yeah, I expect them to do well, and they're a good group as well. So yeah, I enjoyed my time, learned plenty. So it was definitely very valuable.
So I just want to go back to the start. So obviously, I know you're growing up in Enfield. You played for Enfield for many years, like usually a lot later than most lads would have gone to a DDSL or a League of Ireland team. What was life like growing up, like in terms of yourself personally and also in football?
Yeah, it was good. I played local with Enfield probably the whole way till I was about 15. My dad was the manager of that team, which probably made me stay longer. But yeah, no, it was good. It's just playing with all my mates from school, like any other lad, really. And then yeah, I just played till 15. I didn't really have any offers to go up to Dublin or anything. And it's probably a late developer. I was quite small then, and then I kind of just shot up at 16, 17, and used to play centre mid for Enfield, and then slowly worked my way back. And yeah, moved on to Drogheda, and yeah. But when you're younger, it's all about playing with your mates. I think that's probably the main thing, is enjoying the game. And you see a lot of lads, they take it dead serious, or their parents push them to take it seriously, maybe at 12 and 13. And for me, I wouldn't have changed in any sort of way that I done it. Like I just enjoyed it. I had the crack with my mates up until 16, and then probably gave it a decent go then.
And like when you were playing at Enfield up to 15, like I said, most lads would be moving to DDSL at a much younger age than that. Like, did you feel like you had a future in football then, or was it just something you weren't even thinking about?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't thinking about it one bit. It's always a dream though for every lad, I guess, like when they're playing. And I guess we all probably thought we were going to play for United and Liverpool and that sort of thing. So it was no different than anyone else then. But yeah, I think physicality probably played a factor. I just got bigger, I got stronger, and was able to compete more. And then that probably got me up a couple of levels then.
Or was it kind of towards the end of your time at Enfield you started to think like, I actually have potential to play like for a League of Ireland team?
Yeah, so like the Kennedy Cup starts then, and I went down with the NEC, which is the Meath District League, and yeah, we just went down to the Kennedy Cup, and we had a decent enough year. Like we came third in that group and won the plate or whatever it was, and but in the games and stuff, I felt like I was well able, and I think I was like vice captain of that. So like I kind of knew I was moving in the right direction, and then sort of kicked on from there. That manager left and went to Drogheda under 17, so I just moved with that manager, Warren Bulger, and then yeah, I started with Drogheda 17s and playing sort of in the North Dublin or the Dublin League or whatever, and then into the real Electricity League under 17s then, yeah.
And then you moved from Drogheda to St. Pat's underage. What did you think of that experience overall? And how did that come about? Was that you kind of pushing to play for a higher level, or was that someone coming to you?
No, I just think I was doing all right for the Drogheda 17s, and then I had a chance to go to UCD or go to Pat's 19s. And I was very close to going to UCD, and then I just, for whatever reason, Pat's kind of came in a bit later, and then I just said I'd give it a crack and try and push myself a bit. It was definitely out of my comfort zone going up there. Like, yeah, it was funny. It was just sharing a dressing room with all Dublin lads and that. It was just completely different to probably what I was used to Drogheda and at Enfield. But they were really good players then, and I learned a lot from that as well. Some good experiences, and yeah, to be fair, Patch was a good pathway. Probably teach you to hold on to possession a lot, so that probably helped me. for a couple of years there, and yeah, loved it there, to be fair.
And how do you reflect now, especially on your journey? Like a lot of lads your age, born in '99, would have gone to the UK at like 16 or 15. Like when you look at the way you went, you played League of Ireland, and then eventually when you're a bit older, then went over. Like how do you reflect on that journey in comparison to a lot of other lads? Like, do you think it's a good pathway that worked for you?
Yeah, it did. Like I got my, I went to Maynooth University as well, as you know, and like got my degree there along the way. So I always football was probably second for a lot of my life, and then after probably getting into the League of Ireland, then I switched it up, and that was more important. But yeah, I wouldn't change my journey at all. I think everyone's used to their own pathway, and mine worked out for me. Not going to work out for everyone, and there's no right or wrong way either. Some fellas move at 15 and they fly it, and that works for them. But yeah, mine was just about enjoying it for as long as I could, and then sort of took it seriously then. When I got to 16, 17, and that probably helped me as well, where some lads will fall off at that age because I guess they get involved in school and going out and stuff probably at 16, 17, and it's probably where I kind of put the head down, which maybe helped me,
And what do you think of the League of Ireland in terms of a place to develop young players? Like you've seen, for instance, now with Pats as well, Sam Curtis has gone over now and made a debut in the Premier League. Like, do you think it's a good path now, the fact that Brexit's come in, that players can't move till 18, so they're getting a bit of first-team football, similar to you?
Yeah, really good. I think so. I think you can see now, probably when I played in the league, it was just starting to get a bit younger, if that makes sense. Like the age demographic was coming down a little bit, but now it's completely different. Like you've just got every week there's a 15-year-old making his debut or 16. Like it's good to see. But yeah, the quicker into probably men's football, the better. Kind of, I've seen like the sort of reserve league or the 21s league they play over in England, and the games are very flat and they don't represent the proper level, because you can be playing in a 23s game in a Premier League level and you get all day on the ball, and then you get turfed out to League One and it's completely different. So yeah, I think the League of Ireland's brilliant. It's so exciting as well. This season's been crazy to watch. I've actually really enjoyed it. So yeah, definitely a good place for players to learn. And yeah, Pats especially, they just seem to keep turning lads out and producing good players out of their academy.
And shortly then after that, you spent the season in 2019 on loan at Drogheda. Like, how do you reflect on that season and the experience that brought you in your first year in men's football?
Yeah, it was class. Tim Clancy was the manager. I just met him in a hotel and just had a chat with him, and then signed up there just before the start of that season. And yeah, it was just it was probably the first time I thought, I have a bit of a chance here. I didn't start brilliantly, but I just developed along the way, and by the end of it, I felt 10 feet tall probably that season. And yeah, we were unlucky not to go up. Finn Harps beat us in a relegation promotion sort of final, and yeah, we were quite unlucky. Like we were 1-0 up going up to Finn Harps, and the pitch that night was just like a bog, and yeah, they got the better of us. But yeah, as seasons go, that's probably the first time, and even that was the first time playing in front of crowds as well. So you actually felt, yeah, it felt like being a footballer. You got a taste for it, and then that's when yeah, like I knew I kind of wanted to get better and go down that route,
That season, you had 9 goals in 37 games. Like, it's not bad for a centre back. Obviously, everyone knows that hat trick you got in the playoff semi-finals as well. Like what do you put that down to? Like 9 goals in 37 games. Like a lot of strikers would take those numbers.
Yeah, well, we had Shawnee Brennan there at Drogheda, and like, to be fair, I don't think I've played with anyone with his delivery like from a dead ball. Like every ball was on the penalty spot or just inside it, and I just had to head them in. But yeah, I don't know. I probably felt like a striker, where like every time I went up for a corner, I thought I was going to score. Like, but yeah, no, it was a good season. And I went up front a couple of games as well, like just towards the end if we were losing, and that was good as well. So yeah, it's nice for a defender because you don't get that feeling as much when you score. So that season was good for goals anyway. Yeah.
You won the Drogheda Young Player of the Year, and then the following year you came back to Pats. Obviously, it was 2020, so it was the COVID year, so the season was cut short. But how do you reflect on your time at Pats?
Yeah, it was good. It was good learning as well. Definitely felt a big jump between the first division and the Premier Division. But it was good. Like I had a manager there in Stevie who believed in me, to be fair, and he always played me, and that was good learning. It was just frustrating. Probably played 4 games and the season was cut. And then there was a long delay, sort of getting back. Getting back took ages. Yeah, and then I would have loved like a full proper season with crowds, really. And but yeah, it just felt so quick. I don't really remember like that much about it. It was just sort of a weird sort of season. Um, Turning up to games, empty stadium, leaving and it's all empty, and even in the games itself, they were really eerie, like they were strange. But good learning, to be fair. It was good learning, yeah.
So yeah, by the end of that season, you'd played every minute for Pats. Obviously, you joined Oxford then in the January of 2021. Was there a few clubs interested in you at that stage, or was it just Oxford that came in for you? Because you were linked with a couple of clubs at the time.
Yeah, like I had a few, like Ipswich and Lincoln and a few, and then Oxford were the other one. So yeah, like it was funny. I wake up one morning and I was picking Oxford. I kind of got a dilemma where I had to pick one of them, and then one day I was Lincoln, the next day I was Ipswich, and then in the end I just thought like whatever chance, the best chance of me playing is probably Oxford. Um, so that's where I went. But I kind of went over with an injury at the start. Like I had a problem with my hips and stuff, and I didn't really feature that first season at all. Signed in January but didn't play. Was on the bench a couple of times, but um, the injury put me out for a month or two, and just got a run then the following season, which was the first one, and yeah, it all worked out well. It was a really good club though. Obviously they've got promoted now, but they've good people there where they treat you proper well, and it made it really easy probably for me to come over and just slot straight into that club. So yeah, I really enjoyed my time there and living there as well.
Yeah, I just want to ask you about when you were signing there. Like, obviously, that was during the height of lockdown during COVID. Like, did you get to meet people or see the club before or anything, or were you flying over to sign for the first time?
Literally packed my suitcase and ran to the airport. At that time, like it wasn't long left in the window. I can't remember what date it was, but it was sort of like get yourself on a flight. So I packed my bag and then just said goodbye to my mum. And it was during COVID. It wasn't. It was kind of like the Stone Age or something, where you just like, when am I going to see them again? Because we didn't know how COVID was going to go. But yeah, just packed up and off I went, and decided on Oxford. And then turned up at the airport, and you're kind of getting questions going into the airport saying like, what are you flying for? Do you need to fly? And then you're like, they're not going to let me fly here. But yeah, it was all grand. Flew over, seen the club and all that. But yeah, like it was tough because you couldn't even carpool with lads and stuff like that. Like it was probably hard to bond like straight away. But yeah, it was very different times. Sort of when I signed at other clubs, you go straight there and you probably see a few people around the building. But when I went there, the building was literally empty. Like I think at the time the players had to drive to training, get changed in the car, get given their food, and then get back in the car. It was sort of, there was no sort of like hang around the canteen and bond and stuff like that, you know.
And like when you first went there, obviously you were living by yourself. You had an injury, like you said, when you went over. You know, like it was during COVID. You couldn't really do anything or see your family. Like, was that first couple of months up to the summer in Oxford? Like, was that a bit of a lonely time for you? Like, was that difficult? Like, did you ever have any doubts about going over, or were you always kind of confident that it was going to work out?
Yeah, no, like the achievement for me was probably to get to England because, as I said, I was playing for Enfield when I was 16, and then I think I was 21 or 22 when I signed for Oxford. So, like, to me, I was just over the moon to have even got there, and it was always the sort of dream was to get to England. So then when I got there, yeah, I was buzzing. I couldn't believe sort of my luck nearly. Like I was just like so grateful for it all. And then yeah, as the months go by, you're kind of going, "Oh, like I'm not playing here. I'm injured and not chatting to anyone." And that was very tough, to be fair. Like probably the toughest time I had was at Oxford at the start, but yeah, you just find a way through it, and you just make connections and you get involved in the group, and that just makes the football probably get a lot easier. With the injury at the start, to be fair, like I was out for 2 months, and then I was just like dying to get back training. So when I got training, then like I was just so delighted to be training, and then pushing myself against them players. Like I felt it was a good jump sort of from League One at the time. So like playing with decent players was just enjoyable every day, you know.
And like you were doing the online college from Maynooth at the time, like finishing off your degree. How did you find that during that time? Like, was that something that kind of kept you a bit occupied at home when you weren't playing football?
Yeah, it did a bit. It was a weird time though. Like even I don't think the universities were probably ready for that time, if that makes sense. Like sort of they're probably getting their heads around it. It's probably a little bit more difficult now because we saw like quizzes and all this sort of thing where like it wasn't that difficult, you know. Whereas now it's probably a lot harder. But yeah, it was probably a distraction. Something it was something different to think about when you come home instead of sort of, oh, I'm not playing, or whatever it was that's going on. Yeah, it was probably a good distraction, and it's probably good for players to have especially in League of Ireland, like just have something else going on inside, you know, to keep you distracted. There's no point in coming home at 2 o'clock every day from training and not and just be thinking about football till you go to bed. There's no benefit in that really. So it was good that way, yeah.
And then, yeah, like you said, the following season, you solidified your place in the team. Like, did you feel like, obviously, you'd gone now from League of Ireland and now you're in League One and you're actually playing every week and doing really well in League One? Like, do you feel like you really grew in confidence during that time?
Oh yeah, for sure. You're probably running off adrenaline at the start because you're buzzing to be even in the setup. But again, COVID helped me again. Like that season, centre half would just get COVID and then I'd be in because I wasn't like a down to start. You know, I was probably third or fourth choice. But yeah, that probably helped me. Like if someone got injured or got COVID, then I'd get in, would do well. And then to be fair to Kyle Robinson, like he didn't just throw me in and that was it. Like he took me back out, he took me in, took me back out. So it was actually a good little sort of process to getting used to that level because it is competitive. It's Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday a lot of the time in League One because of like Papa John's and stuff like that. So it is very intense probably for someone coming over at that level straight away, you know.
And then towards the end of that season, like there was massive rumours at the time about Tottenham coming in for you and everything like that. Like, did you ever hear anything about that, or did anything ever come of that? Obviously,
no, nothing. Like, it was funny because like there was no rumor of it at all, and then I just got a text from like someone I used to work with in Liffey Valley. I used to work in the hotel in Liffey Valley, like during the summer and that, and he was a Spurs fan, and he texted me and goes, "Oh, like can't believe like the rumors, like fair play, didn't realize you were doing that well, keep it up." And I was like, what is he on about? So then like I just went on Twitter and like looked myself up, and I just seen all these rumors, and I was like, nah, like that can't be true. He texted my agent, and he was like, nah, like there wasn't, it wasn't happening. But you never know. They could have been out watching a game or something, and I don't know. But yeah, we didn't hear anything from it. But it was a good rumor. It was a good rumor that week, like.
yeah, it was talked about a lot. Like it was in a lot of different places. But like you're saying about like social media and everything. Like, do you feel like social media is a really kind of divisive thing for footballers? Like, obviously playing at the level you're at, there'll be, if you have a good game or a bad game, like people will be talking about it. Like, do you feel like social media is something that you try and avoid, or do you think it's a good tool for players, or how do you view it as a footballer?
Yeah, I would say avoid. Like, I remember when I started at Drogheda, there was like a Drogheda banter page, and I used to go on it and just think, like, this is hilarious. Like what they're posting, or like if they're getting on one of the two lads' backs, I would just think it was funny. And then I remember a player said to me, he was basically just like, through your career, like you can't go on social media. Like he just was so against. He was an experienced player at the time, and then I was kind of not laughed it off, but I was like, all right, like I don't think it's that big a deal. But then, like as you go on in your career, yeah, it's definitely one to avoid. I think because even if you're doing well, you can start believing that hype too, or if you're not doing well, you can start believing the negativity. So if you can cut all of it out and just focus on your own game, and you're far better off, I think. But as you get older, you definitely don't pass as much heat as maybe when you're younger. I think you're 19 or 20 and someone writes something bad about you, then you probably get a lot more upset than now. Like,
I completely see where it's coming from. So like I said, at the end of that season, you ended up going to Burnley. How did that come about? Like, what was the first you heard of that, and how did you feel when you heard of the interest?
yeah, just it was funny though because at the time, like a lot of clubs didn't have money after COVID, so I probably didn't think I was gonna go like move anywhere. But then yeah, I just got my agent texted me and said Vincent Kompany is gonna ring you in an hour or something. And I was on holiday and I was like, Jesus. So yeah, just gave me a phone call and just spoke about how what he wanted to do at the club, and I think for someone like me as a centre half, like it's a bit of a no brainer. Like I really enjoyed Oxford, and looking back, it would have been good to do probably another season in League One. But um, when one of the best centre halves like in the Premier League rings you and asks you to join, there's not much else you're going to do other than try and push it over the line.
And when Vincent Kompany calls you, like, is it a bit intimidating on the phone? Like, obviously, he's such a massive player in Premier League history. Like, was it a nice interaction, or did you feel a bit intimidated kind of by talking to him?
No, it was a nice interaction. Obviously, you are talking to Vincent Kompany, so you're a little bit like it is a bit weird. But then once I got in at Burnley, it wasn't weird at all. Like he's a good man, to be fair, and kind of just got on well, like off the pitch, even just chatting canteen or whatever he's saying. So no, it's not as intimidating, but at the start, yeah, when he first rang me, definitely.
What were your first impressions of the club when you went in to meet people and see the place? What did you think of it?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Like, just the training ground to be training every day or working every day at that sort of training ground was unbelievable. Like pitches were like carpets, and the people around the place, to be fair, were actually really nice. And yeah, all the backroom staff all really welcoming. The players really welcoming. There was a good group there, sort of when I first signed. Like Ashley Barnes and like Jack Hutt, like lads that were sort of in the Premier League for most of their career, and they were just really humble fellas. Like they'd be asking me, "Oh, how was Oxford last season?" And I'd be like, how do you know I even played for Oxford?" sort of thing, because they played at such a high level. But they're really down to earth, so it was actually quite easy to slot in with them lads. Like they're just a bit of crack in that, so yeah, it was good.
And when you're going from League One to then, like you said, playing with like what is essentially a Premier League team, was that a massive jump in standard, like in terms of not just playing in the Championship, but even in training, like playing against lads like you said, Ashley Barnes, who's played in the Premier League his entire career?
Oh yeah, like massive jump. It it took a lot of time, probably even in training, to even get near them. Like they were a different level. They were obviously playing the Premier League the season before, and I was in League One, so there's a massive jump there in itself. So, but I really enjoyed it. Like it was a good test, and then sort of as time went on, I knew I needed to play, because I was kind of like I was playing in League One nearly every week, and I missed that feeling of playing. Kind of, there's no sort of substitute for it, and you can train all you like, but it's nothing like playing. So yeah, I just kind of had to get myself alone, and yeah, in the end of the season it worked out all right. Like I still played 20 odd games, but yeah, it was difficult to start, like kind of not playing and stuff.
Like, what does an average day for you look like when you're playing for Burnley in the Championship? Like, obviously you're coming in for training in the morning, but do you have a busy schedule throughout the day?
Yeah, especially with Kompany there, a lot of meetings, so getting to training at whatever time, and you're kind of sitting in a meeting at 10 o'clock every morning, and sort of the learning I got from them meetings were probably more valuable than the playing sometimes. Because obviously, as I said, playing local to 16 and then sort of being at Pats and Oxford, you're not probably exposed to like really in-depth sort of coaching, and for someone who's played like at the highest level. So them meetings were like really beneficial to me, and that's go to the meeting, come out and train at 11 o'clock, and but yeah, it was all very professional. There was a lot of care gone into it and a lot of time, and like pre-activation was a massive thing there. Like they're so concerned about being injured, sort of, um, like making sure you're warming up for ages before you even go out. And I wasn't used to that either, because I was used to just kind of have a little foam roll and go out. But Burnley it was proper serious, you know.
And when you're talking about the meetings there, is that like tactical detail, or what is the main focus of those meetings?
Yeah, mainly tactical. Find little bits from training. So I obviously went in a pre-season, so he didn't have sort of clips from Burnley last season because they were playing a completely different style. So I'd be training the day before, they'd be working on certain things, and yeah, it was just interesting to see like how he sort of developed a team that would probably not hold on to possession as much into like just constant total football. So yeah, it was actually really interesting just as an education into sort of football. There's a lot of value in that, yeah.
And then shortly before you joined Coventry on loan, you were on the bench for the Carabao Cup tie against Man United at Old Trafford. Like, what was that experience like? It must have been surreal, really, to think that, like you said, you were at Enfield a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it was class, to be fair. Yeah, just, I don't know, just seeing the squad list and I was in it and I was just buzzing, just even like be sitting in the dressing room, walking out of the tunnel. Like obviously as a sub is not the same as playing, but like for me it was a class experience. Even before the game out on the pitch, just looking at it, it was definitely very surreal at the time. And even like when the game started, the subs obviously wait, but like I just looked down the tunnel and it was like Martial, Rashford, Fernandez, just seeing the names on the back. I was like, this, yeah, it was a bit mad, like, but yeah, it was really good.
But do you think if someone had told you when you were playing at Enfield at 14, 15 that you'd play at Old Trafford, like, do you think you'd have believed them?
No, no, not a chance. Like I used to go over for games the odd time, like most lads, and go and watch and stuff. And then yeah, to be sitting on the bench even was just, yeah, I was buzzing with it. Because obviously they wouldn't have put out the starting team, so like David De Gea was just like sitting beside on the other bench, like the nearest side to me, and it was mad. It was mad, really.
And like I said, then you went to Coventry, and for those 6 months, like, it went unbelievably well for yourself and for the team. Massive push up the table. What do you think that was down to, like, your success there?
Well, the manager was very good. Like the minute I got there, the whole setup was, I don't know, he just had a control over the whole building. You could feel it. Like he was obviously massively respected. Mark Robbins was, and his assistant Adi was a really good trainer. So yeah, the two lads had a lot of control over the building, and you could see in the dressing room there was like a steeliness, sort of a good bond in there, and that probably helped a lot. But we had two like outstanding players in Gyokeres and Gus Hamer. Like the Gus Hamer's obviously at Sheffield, but like he was top, like really really good. And then Vic is playing for Sport Lisbon now. Is like linked with everyone across Europe, so going for 100 million. So when you look back, you're like, well, we probably had one of the best strikers in Europe that season, and that probably helped us the most. But no, a good dressing room and good lads, good leaders in there, and yeah, I was just very lucky to be part of that group, really.
And yeah, I wanted to ask you about Gyokeres. Like, when you look at him now, obviously, like you said, he's absolutely ripping it up this season. Like, did you see that he had the potential? Like, 'cause it's not long ago that he was playing, the Championship, and now he's like linked with all the biggest clubs in the world. Like, is that surprising to you, or did you kind of see that he had that quality to play at that level?
No, I knew minute one. Like, I knew literally the first session. Him and Gus were just like light years above, sort of thing. There's obviously really good players in there that have kind of come through now, and you see them against United, certainly FA Cup, like Ben Sheaf, and there's loads of lads there that are good players. But definitely with Vic, you could see, like, as a defender, I just noticed, like, this fella's really really good. I wouldn't really be not afraid of people in training, but sometimes he's a bit unstoppable, where like you kind of know what he's going to do. He's going to dribble at you, come in on his right and shoot, and you just can't really stop him. He doesn't really have a weak attribute. So yeah, I think he'll be in the Premier League one day. I think he'll be like right at the top of it. Like,
And that season, obviously, coming towards the end, like I said, it was a really impressive push up the table. You ended up in the playoffs. How do you reflect on the playoffs? Like, it was, a great performance over 2 games against Middlesbrough. Obviously, unlucky in the final day against Luton, but how do you reflect on that experience for you, and what do you think you learned from it during the time?
Yeah, it was unreal. It was just such a good time. Like, even to get to the playoff, we weren't sitting in the playoffs the whole season. I think that was the first time we got in was like the second last game of the season. That was when we got into sort of the top 6. So yeah, it was probably more the build up to it. Like, we went away to QPR, beat them. Birmingham and Reading came to our place and we beat them there. Like, the atmosphere at them games were unreal. And then we got to the playoff. We played the first game at home, and it was like the worst, one of the worst games you'll ever see. They're kind of dead rubbers. It's like the 2 playoffs or the championship this year. They're both 0-0. Like, no one really wants to do anything in the first game. They'd rather just take it to the last game and then have a shootout then. So, but yeah, as an experience, yeah, unreal. Like, must have brought about 60 people to the game, to the final, like over at Wembley, and it's nice. Like, when you're there, obviously you're good that you lost and that sort of thing, but it's just nice to have a big day out sort of like that as well, and have your family all over watching, and yeah, it's not something that happens every day.
And it must be such an immense sense of pride for your family, like, to see you playing at that level, like in front of 90,000 people at Wembley. Like not many people can say that their family member did that. Like, what do you feel like it was like for them? Were they like absolutely terrified watching the game, or were they kind of just enjoying the occasion, do you think?
I don't know. They obviously went up and seen them after, but yeah, it's hard. It's hard kind of to remember the day in general, because it's like it kind of goes in a flash. Like, it's the build up to it is so long. The game must have been at 5 o'clock, and like I was just sitting in the hotel with Shonny Maguire, and we were just looking out the window, just seeing all the fans. Like, I usually have a nap before games, but like before that one, there was just no chance of it. And yeah, it's just a special day. Having all your family over is class, and as you say, playing in the League of Ireland and stuff, to get to that sort of stage was like, for them it was a win. Like, for all of us, it felt like a bit of a win, in the sense to get to that sort of occasion. So yeah, it was really good. It was really nice.
And like, you obviously hear the build up. Everyone says it's the most expensive game of football, and the stakes are so high, and it's, like I said, 90,000 people at Wembley. Like, with an occasion like that, do you feel like you can even enjoy it, or is it just so much pressure involved, or how do you approach those kind of occasions?
I was actually quite relaxed. I didn't feel that much pressure in it. I watched the game, the Leeds Southampton game. Like, I only realised how big a deal it was, sort of watching it, sort of not being involved in it. But when you're involved in it, it's just like another game. And yeah, it's just the scenery of it, walking out and just seeing like one side blue, one side orange. Like, it was actually mental. Like, thinking back. But yeah, you want to get back there again, and that's kind of what I hope for, is to have another day out like that, and hopefully win it this time. Like, we were unlucky to lose on penalties, and like there was nothing in the game really. Like, the first half they battered us, second half we probably were better. So yeah, it's just one of them things. If we win on penalties, it's the best day ever. If not, it's a bit of a downer. But yeah, the aim is to get back there, and anything can happen in the championship. So yeah, that's the aim. Get back to one of them days again.
And obviously, you played against so many top players over the last couple of years. Like, would you say there's one player in particular that stood out that you played against that you'd say was your toughest ever opponent?
I played against St Maximan in a pre-season game in like 30-degree heat, and he was a joke for Newcastle. But probably in like a league game, in the championship, probably João Pedro, who's now at Brighton. When he was at Watford, I felt like every time it went tight, he'd spin, and every time I gave him space, he'd just take a touch and turn and make you look stupid. Like, he just had the bearings of me. Like, sort of, I felt like from minute one, to the point where I just had to try and just smash him and stuff, just to get on with the game. But yeah, probably João Pedro. He's obviously doing well at Brighton, but I think he'll keep getting better. And yeah, he's probably the best I played in the championship, I would say. Yeah.
And like we said earlier, obviously after your time at Stoke, which we discussed. You're back at Burnley now. Like, what would you say your aims are for the next season?
Yeah, just to keep playing football, to keep playing consistently, and probably improve on last season. Like obviously the good year at Coventry, and then at Stoke we didn't finish that high up the league. So wherever I am, I just want to be playing. And as I was talking about Wembley, just to get back up to sort of the topper end of the league. That's probably the aim for now. And yeah, play as many games as I can and just enjoy it. That's what we're all trying to do, is just go in every day and enjoy it and work hard. So yeah, that's all the aim is.
And like longer term, then obviously, like you must feel like you're not too far off, like playing for Ireland eventually. Like, you know, you're playing top level championship. Like, do you feel like that's an aim for yourself over the next couple of years as well, to try and get a call up hopefully for the Ireland team?
Yeah, of course it is. It's obviously is an aim, but there's so many good centre halves that like you have to be probably in the top 6 in the championship to warrant a chance in there. Obviously with like Scalzi had an unreal year last year, and yeah, they come through the crack line all the time, and Jacob Ryan out in Lyon. So yeah, it's a competitive position. It's like the keepers as well, so competitive, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, it does push you on more in your own game, and like if that's the level, you have to match it. So it's probably driven me a lot more to see like that's the level you need to get to. So, you know, makes you train harder and play better in games. But yeah, ultimately that is the goal, and hopefully one day I get an cap out of it.
Oh, Luke, really appreciate your time. Obviously, some amazing stories there, amazing insight, and it's, you know, a great example of such a success story coming out of the League of Ireland. So really appreciate you taking your time, and best of luck for next season.
Cheers, Adam. Thanks for your time, mate.